Good morning, Rabbi Sai. Shkoya. Shalom Alaychem, Lakewood. Ira Kodesh also happens to be the city that I was born in. So thank you so much for having me. Thank you for coming out. Unfortunately, because of our flight that Tomer and I are trying to catch, we had to make the shiur a little bit earlier than we wanted to. We understand that there's a lot of Yingalayit, the yeshiva bachrim, that can't really come at this time, so we apologize. Be'ez Hashem, next time will be a little bit more mischashiv is the word with them. If you notice, today is Rosh Chodesh Sivan, and the pasuk in Yisroi says about today, HaChodesh, b'Chodesh HaShlishi l'tzeis b'nei Yisrael meretz Mitzrayim. That's b'Chodesh HaShlishi, Sivan. And then the famous pasuk, Vayichan Shom Yisrael neged hahar. Now, without the vitz, the famous vitz, that any time when does Klal Yisrael get together, when there's a shtickle machloikis, neged hahar. But let's be serious. Today is the day that Klal Yisrael came together ba'achdus. Ba'achdus shleima. Everybody, ki ish echad, says Rashi, b'leiv echad, ki ish echad, b'leiv echad. Every single day, we're zoicha to have Vayichan Shom Yisrael neged hahar. When you look on Zoom, and you see a yid with Sekraz the Payas sitting next to a Litvak, or a Tziyoni sitting next to an anti-Tziyoni, but they're best friends because they came together for Torah. And here we have, in the room, we have all sorts of Yidden, all types of Yidden. Nobody's judging anyone because we're all here for one thing, and that is to serve HaKadosh Baruch Hu through learning Torah. And every single day, HaKadosh Baruch Hu has Nachas Ruach, I guarantee you. And today especially, when we hear hundreds of people coming together, Pashat sitting together next to each other. There's a person here tonight, his name is Reb Yisrael Gordon. Reb Yisrael Gordon changed a lot about MDY. A few years ago, during COVID, every single day, there was somebody on Zoom by the name of Chop. And he refused to show his face. You could shut your screen, he wouldn't show his face. For months. And we would chepe him. Who are you? What are you? Say something. Who? Garnished. And eventually we figured out that CHOP stands for Children's Hospital of Philadelphia. And he's a younger man from Lakewood whose son was battling a brain tumor. And when the Olam chapped what's going on, they started sending things to the family and setting him up with computers so he could communicate. It was a situation, if you remember, they told him, you're in or you're out. If you decide to stay in the hospital, you can't ever come back, you can't leave. And if you leave, you can't come back in. You decide what you want to do, and he decided to stay with his son. And the chesed that went on, one of his kids at home wanted a kayak. So somebody sent him a kayak in the mail, a 15-foot lime kayak. And the gifts were coming, and unfortunately, his son was nifter, and he sat shiva. And MDY started coming, one after another. Ofishel came in from Baltimore. But one of the things that stuck out the most was that a Lubavitcher chassid, Shloime Klein, drove over 2 hours from Crown Heights to be Menachem, a person he's never met in real life. He heard about him, saw his face a couple of times. Maybe, I don't even think he showed his face. Knowing that he's a Lubavitcher and here's more of a younger man from Lakewood, he went there And he told me, Shloime, that his intent was to drive the 2.5 hours, say Amok Menachem, for 2 minutes and leave. And he said to Rabbi Yisrael, he said, you don't know me. I am, and he's about to say his name, and Srili told him, I know exactly who you are. You're Shloime Klein, I see you every day on Zoom. What do you mean I don't know you? We're Mishpacha. Shloime was shocked, he sat down, and they started schmoozing for 2 hours. And it ended up being, a 6-7 hour affair. And hearing that story, I was very emotional. To see the achdos, the camaraderie between our brothers. Doesn't matter what faction and what this. In real life, I say you and you're puzzled this way. And but when it came down to it, and at the end of the day, it created a tremendous achdos in our shir. And from that day on, the stories continue day after day like that. When we just had Avi Mandelbaum, who's more of a tziyoni yid, he had a ring on his finger and he became sick with the machla, and the Olam took upon themselves to learn the schus refuasai 5,000 daf of Gemara. That's how many daf they learned, and so many Hasidim participated in it. Hasidim that in real life probably wouldn't look at him. He had this big kippas ruga, he was baltekeya, and he used to talk a lot on Zoom, and people, they related to him, and they learned for him, and they accepted upon themselves mitzvahs, and just the achdus was unbelievable. So I think in that vein, we're here with such achdus. I think we should all sing together, achenu, but mamish, with the hearts. And if you don't like to sing Barabim, sing today Barabim. We'll cover this tremendous moment of Kiddush Hashem. Test. Sponsors. Let's see if I can find them today. Let's see if I can find what's going on here. Oh, first of all, I have to thank Murad Nakash. Murad Nakash, he's here somewhere. He sponsored a major part of the Masechtas Gittin, the Gemaras, which is a tremendous expense. Yossi Klein, I spoke about how he worked tirelessly to arrange the different nights, getting halls, everything else. Tomer Levy also flew in from Eretz Yisrael, special for tonight. Yosef Biliak, the editor, stays up all night to edit it because it comes in at different hours now. Yochanan Itzkowitz on the phone answering all the questions about the different things. And I have to mention Bracha Shulamfrei, right? That's how you pronounce her name? Bracha Shulamfrei from Design Lab, who did all the graphic art for tonight, from all the different things, beautiful stuff, Yishkoyach. Moe L for doing everything he does behind the scenes, the Shloime and everything else. Of course, we have to thank Shalom Rand for being Shalom Rand, and whoever knows Shalom Rand, Yishkoyach Shalom Rand. All right, and also, I was supposed to say yesterday that Avram Shalom Goldberg, the yahrzeit of two of his grandfathers, Moshe Yosef ben Chaim Pinchas Goldberg and Shmuel Meir ben Yechiel Licker Zechroinam Livracha. Okay, I'm not exaggerating that there's hundreds of emails in the queue that I didn't read. I brought one and I'm thinking just to skip it because the Olam is kind of tired and they want to keep on moving. So we'll skip this beautiful email. What was the gist of it? They met me there. Okay, fine. We'll have to do it a different time. The Paras HaChodesh L'Nishmas Chai Bas Yosef, Paras HaChodesh L'Nishmas Zechariah ben Moshe, last month for Paras HaChodesh, L'Nishmas Reb Eliyahu ben Yosef Menachem Mendel. Paras HaYoim, in honor of my husband, Chezkel Goldberg. Who's Chezkel Goldberg here? Anybody Chezkel Goldberg? Don't be shy. Where are you? That's you? Stand up for a second. Come here. Chezkel, get over here. You gotta get over here. You know why? Because your wife, without you knowing, I was very emotional when I saw this. You know that she's sponsored today? You're gonna kill her when you get home, right? So I don't want you to have to pay for this. You should know that you have Ariechas Chayil. She called up Nesanel Gens, made him a sugar. She's gonna send him, she doesn't have a disc, she doesn't have a credit card, she doesn't have it online. She's gonna send him a check. Who uses checks anymore? So tell her she doesn't have to pay us. We gave you a shout out. You're on the stage. Say Shalom Alaychem. She's a great wife. She's a keeper. Don't get mad at her, okay? Shkoyach. Tell her not to send any checks, okay? Marc Aschkenasy, look at the busha, the bizyaynus. In honor of my dear father, Reb Chaim Aschkenasy, here tonight, the choshivah of Baal Yichus. There's a Magid of Daf Yomi shiurim for 40 years to get up for him. Where is he? I don't know, wherever he is. Where? Shkoyach for coming. I'm not going to say get over here to you. Okay, wow. 40 years of Magid Shir. MS? Something like that. Shkoyach, that's why you have such sons. We wish him Ariechas Yomim V'shonim Tovim, full of Gezut, Nachas and Simchas. Gedalia Miller from Kesher Navshi, MDY, Lakewood, Shechianu, and Closet Hasidim, first time attendees. Unbelievable. I got to tell you guys the story again. I say it over and over. I said it in Borough Park. We had 1,500 people, or our boys said 1,500 people. A guy came over, a chassid. He said he's a closet chassid. He hasn't shown his face. He didn't want to tell anybody that watches the daf. For 3 years. Finally decided, okay, we're doing a big massive in Borough Park. He's coming to Borough Park. He came to Borough Park and he says, you know who I bumped into? My own brother is also a closet chassid. This is the first time I knew about it. I didn't know about it until tonight. Maisa Shahaya. So stop being so shy about it. Come out, join us. Jeff Rasner, Lila Nishmas, this is Simcha Chaim ben Shloime Yehuda. And fifth sponsor, Ilya, I can't read this, wow. Ilya Starobinitz, something like that. A complete and speedy recovery. Eliyahu Tzvi Shraga, that's the main part. Eliyahu Tzvi Shraga Alevi ben Fega. And finally, in honor of the boots on the ground, alphabetically, Reb Marc, Reb Moe L, Reb Nesanel, Reb Yossi, Reb Shloime, and their minyans of helpers who made this road trip possible, from the official turning of the daf and the official Mishne, Yishkoyach Reb official. Here he is. The heart of the month, sponsor for complete refuah of Chaim Tzvi ben Leah. Rabbi Yisai, here we go. Okay. So, the Mishnah begins. We're still holding in the first part of the Mishnah. It's very easy stuff. As a matter of fact, we have a little bit of a Gadol today. Gishmak and Yanim. We have a machlokes. Why is it that when a shliach brings a get from Chutz La'aretz, a messenger brings a get from Chutz La'aretz to Eretz Yisrael, he has to say, B'fanai nechtam or B'fanai nechtam. I saw that they wrote the get, I saw that they signed the get. Rabbah says, the issue is Lishma. I'm concerned that it wasn't written properly with the right intent for this woman. And Rava says, Eidim, Lishma, I couldn't come up with something better than Rabbah and Lishma, both have a hey at them. But the Olam seem to remember it. So, I want to introduce you, Olam, to in Lakewood. If you haven't seen this yet, you're going to love this. Besides, if you're that one guy that just wrote me an email, we had to introduce new characters for the Masechta, and here's our big character. He's a shliach. Here goes. If you don't recognize him, he looked something like that in his previous life. And here he is. Now, this guy, we need some audio in a second, but okay. He became a shliach because the husband, who's the husband? Here we go. Here's the husband, and here's where the husband lives. In Florida someplace. All right, here goes. We'll take you on a little trip here. Oh, no. Okay, we missed the audio, but we'll just shut it off. Okay. We're having issues with the audio. We'll do it without audio. Here we go. So, Don Ben Trump tells his shliach to go give a get in Eretz Yisrael. He looks for the airport. He finds the airport. Oh, gewaldig. Now here he comes, Reb Boisa. Here he goes. Oh, tazoi. Comes the shliach. Goes up the plane. Oy vey, nebach. Okay. The Olam in Lakewood doesn't know what's flying here. They don't have statuses and stuff. Okay, this is a shtickle clumsy shliach. So kids, he makes it on the plane, and he makes it to Eretz Yisrael. This part I haven't seen yet, so I'm going to enjoy it with you. Oy veizmir, I don't know what's flying here. We mamish messed up. Okay, it didn't work. No. Okay, it didn't work. We're going to have to show something got messed up here.
Here's
As you can see over here, here it goes. But it's messed up. Let's see what happens. He goes flying. Okay. Rabbi Isai, let's see what happens over here. So, how much does this aid need to see? So we had a machlokes yesterday. We finished off saying maybe even one line, the first line, that's enough. Everything. So the Gemara says over here, Rav Ashi Omar afilu kan kulmuso v'kan megilta. Top of Vova Amud Aleph. Explains Rashi that kan megilta because we don't have good audio. Maybe, should I try it? Gary, you want to try it? Put down the food for a second. Maybe it'll work better. You have two hands. What does that? Can't get good help these days. Here we go. Oh no. We'll be back and remember each other soon, and we'll have audio. Okay. Shkoyach. Appreciate it. I feel Kankel Musa. Basically, over here we had a little bit of a guy writing a get, and it made certain sounds that sound like kan. That's what Rashi says. It's like when you describe a chicken, a rooster making a sound, you say kukuriku. Does a rooster say kukuriku? No, but that's how you write it, kukuriku. So the Gemara writes kan. It means the sound of a quill writing oisius on a piece of parchment. In other words, the shliach doesn't have to see the writing as much as he has to hear it. He hears, he knows what's going on. Even, not this. Let me just go straight there. Oh. So this is what the aliyah looks like. Even if they're on different floors. In those days, they used to have a little attic. So if he's in the house and the soiver is upstairs, who ba'aliyah, the soiver is reversed. Even if he's going in and out of the house, kosher. But they're in different floors. He didn't see it. He didn't see it. He heard it. So you see, like Rav Ashi, as long as you don't even have to see the first line, all you need to do is hear it. Even he goes in and out the entire day, it's kosher. Who exactly is going in and out? If it's the shliach, the shliach, we said, if he's in different floors, he doesn't even see what's going on. He said it's kosher. So if he saw a little bit and he goes in and out, why is that not good? He doesn't even have to see it at all to get his kosher. So if he saw a little bit of the writing, just because he left for a minute, why should it ruin anything? Ella, we have to come to the conclusion, soifer. The soifer, middle of writing, the get, he leaves. He takes a little break. Spatzir. Says the Gemara, he's not allowed to take a break. He's not allowed to leave the house, go buy something in the middle. Says the Gemara, yes, it might be a problem to leave. Why? Maybe he bumped into somebody with the same exact name as the guy that he's writing the get for. We have a chesaron in Lishma. It's not going to be for the right intent, for the right people. Kamash Malon, that's a far-fetched concern to think that maybe he bumped into somebody with the same name. New sugi Rabbi say, brand new sugya. Itmar, Bavel. What's the status of Bavel? Is it like Eretz Yisrael or is it like Chutz La'aretz? Now, the Gemara over here is talking about from one city to another city within Bavel. We're not talking about coming from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. That's a sugi on Amud Beis. So from one city to another city, let's say from Surah to Narda, the two yeshivas as we're going to see soon. Rav Omak Eretz Yisrael Gittin. Rav says it's like Eretz Yisrael Gittin. The best thing I could think about is like Lakewood. Lakewood and Chutz La'aretz. Does it have a halacha of Bnei Brak or not? Shmuel Omak and Chutz La'aretz. Shmuel says no, it's like Chutz La'aretz. The Mar Sovar Rav holds the Fishain Bekim L'Shma V'Hane Gemiri. Like in Lakewood, you have Tamid Chachamim everywhere. Everybody knows what L'Shma is. Every kid in Cheder knows L'Shma. In Bavel also, everybody knew what L'Shma was. Now what about the fact that we just learned yesterday that it's not good enough that in one place they know about L'Shma? Because we're concerned of Shema Yachzeh Dovel L'Kukuloi. What about next generation? So the Ramshiv says that Bavel is different. Bavel never was a place where there wasn't a L'Shma, and then they became Lamdonim, they know about L'Shma, and then they lost it. They might lose it. Bavel from day one always knew what L'Shma is. Memela, we're not being geyser a new thing, we're not doing something else. It's just we continue what they knew. They knew L'Shma and they always knew L'Shma. We're not concerned that maybe a different generation is not going to know. Umar Sovar, Shmuel holds the problem is like the Machlokes Rav and Rava. Rav holds that the problem is the Shema like Rabba, hey, and Shmuel holds the problem is Kiyum HaShtar, to authenticate the Shtar. Says the Gemara of Tisbera, how could you say that's machlokes between Rav and Shmuel? Rav is like the Rabba. We already established that even Rav that holds it's a problem of the Shema, he's masking that there's a problem of authentication. There's a problem of Eidim. If there's a problem of Eidim, so Bavel shouldn't be any different than anywhere in the world. You should have to say why? Because if somebody brings a get from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, how are you going to authenticate it? It's so far away. There's a problem of Eidim. And even Rabbah agrees that there's a problem of Eidim. Says the Gemara, Rav Sovar Kivin Digim Sifta, since the yeshivas Mishkach Shrichim. So check this out for a second. Are you able to put it on? Oh. So here's Bavel. Just to give you a little bit of an idea what's going on here. Here's Bavel, the two rivers that you see, the Tigris and the Euphrates, the Prat and Chidekel. The Tigris is on the right side. The one on the left is the Euphrates. So Bavel is sandwiched in between these two rivers. And as you see over there, you have Pumpadisa, you have Baghdad all the way on the right top corner, you have Pelagi that we're familiar with. So Rav is all the way on the bottom where it says Surah, also known as Masa Mechasia, Surah. And Shmuel is by Nahardah. So he's saying, listen, we have yeshivas, and people travel from yeshiva to yeshiva, from Nahardah to Surah, and Surah to Nahardah, and from all over Bavel they're coming to yeshivas. So there's always shayaris, mitzvahs, there's always people. So if you're concerned that we're not going to be able to authenticate the get, don't worry about it. We have people coming and going all the time. Says the Gemara, Ushmul Sovar Mesifta B'Girsayu Tridi. Ooh, wow. People, the yeshiva bachar, the Talmid Chachamim, they're living and learning. They're learning. They don't have. They're not busy with chasimas. They don't know what's flying. A chasima ahin, chasima her. There's a Taisus over here. It's like hani yad v'chasimas yidayu dahani. Taisus says Shloime dahanu d'b'gesai tridi tfei. Skipping, but okay. It says they're so involved in the learning. Ve'elam pnai lachtem klap. They don't have. They never sign. They have nothing to do with it. They're not into business. They're not borrowing money, they're not lending money, they have nothing to do with the signatures. Famous Bavus the Maisa, there's a guy that met somebody after the war, and he says, where did you learn? He said, I learned Velazhin. Velazhin? I also learned Velazhin. Turns out that the two of them sat literally on the same bench in Velazhin, and they had no idea who each other were. After they described it and they figured out what, you said, where did you sit? I sat on the right side. Fifth bench from the front. Me too. Torah and Limud. Which reminds me of a story. I'll tell you this. One of my favorite stories. But I'm in Lakewood. I don't know if Thailand's going to enjoy it so much. But whatever, I'll take a chance. Reb Shimshon Pinkus' son came to Chicago a bunch of years ago. When Reb Shimshon Pinkus was killed in the car accident, his wife, one of his daughters was in the car with them, and she suffered a tremendous injury, and they brought her to Chicago. I lived in Chicago then. I come to Shul, and I see Reb Shimshon Pinkus' son. So I walk over to him, and I say, Shalom Alaychem, Mazel Tov. He says, who are you? He said, Eli Stefansky. He says, I don't remember. Says, what do you mean you don't remember? It was a Chavrusim, Ponovich, Shviktana, we learned. No. Back, forth, trying to something. I said, and then I shtached him. I said, you always told me you're a big Ilui. How does the Ilui like you forget? I said, you don't remember I once jumped over the bima in the middle of Seder and I did this. Garnish, nothing. Doesn't happen. Okay, so I said, you know what, after the davening, I'll remind you. I walk away. All of a sudden he says, wait a minute. How are you related to Ruthie Stefansky, the one that was just left there? I said, that's my mother. He says, wait a minute. Eliyahu Stefansky? I said, yeah. He said it in Hebrew. Tell me, when did you go off the derech? Like, huh? So I had big payas in Panovich, and all of a sudden, he didn't recognize him. We were sitting on the same safsol. He Pasha didn't recognize me. And there's a hemshah. Later on, the koilel for Reb Chaim Aschkenasy came to Chicago and they're looking for me. He said, we heard you're Talmud of Reb Chaim Aschkenasy in Panovich. We want you to donate. So they came to my office and we sat down, a whole zach, And I say, tell them this Maisa. I said, you're not going to believe this Maisa. You're talking about Panovich, Reb Chaim Aschkenasy. Here's this Shimshon Pinkus' son. He said, when did you go off the derech? And the guy looks at me and goes, no, Taka, when did you go off the derech? Okay. Here's $2.50. Shalom Yisrael. Okay. Fine. Anyway, the boy said, don't judge. Don't judge by chitzonius. I have no idea what I'm holding. But this or Rabbi is the Rabbi Kaim or Rabbi so fine. Itmar nami. Omer Rabbi Vono Sinu Atzmeinu Bevovel Eretz Yisrael Gittin. We learned that we in Bavel are like Eretz Yisrael when it comes to get V'ki Asa Rav LeBavel. Oh, because they were bucking Lishma way before Rav. So the reason why you don't have to say, and they showed you in the picture here, the reason why you don't have to say if on Nechtav now, because the Shema is not an issue. What's the issue? To be Mekayim the Shtar Edus. That's not an issue because you have Shiaris Mitsuya is going up and down. Maybe the Rishonim discuss it. There were Shiaris Mitsuya at a previous generation, the Rosh, but now there's not. It went away, and then when Rav came, he put it back in there. He reopened the yeshiva, and now the Shiaris Mitsuya is keeping going. Great. So now I need to show you this, not this one. Oh, here we go. So I already said, somebody came over to me, he said, oh, I finally understood. Somebody also wrote to me. He says, now I know why I don't know where north is, where south is. I don't know. Yeah, because anybody that grew up in New York has no clue what north and south is. It's an out-of-town thing. I don't know how it is in Lakewood. But in New York, it's so easy, you go from 45th Street to 46th to 47th, and then you go 13th to 14th to 15th. Nobody has to know where north and south is. But in all other places in the world, they work with north and south. So here's north, and we just did it like the American map. North is on top, north is Sotah, top. South is on the bottom, Durham. East is to the right, west is to the left. West, Ma'arav, is the ocean. So we're not going to discuss that. So the Gemara says like this. Menachem leMizrach. If you look at the bottom over here, let me just show you real quickly. Here's Eretz Yisrael in green. Everything within the green, you don't have to say B'fanei Nechtam, B'fanei Nechtam. Everything outside of the green, all the red, you have to say B'fanei Nechtam, B'fanei Nechtam. That's called Medina Sayam. Now where does everything start? So all the way on the bottom tip is Rekem and Cheger. So from there to the right, we'll call that east. That's where Eretz Yisrael ends. And the Rekem and Cheger themselves are considered Chutz La'aretz. Me'ashkelon l'Dara. Now, take Ashkelon. It's the blue that's touching the ocean, all the way west, southwest, let's call it. So that's where Eretz Yisrael ends. Ashkelon Kedarim, Ashkelon itself is not even considered Eretz Yisrael. Akoy, Me'akoy, that's all the way in the top in yellow. That's the northernmost point in Eretz Yisrael. The Akkad itself, and Akkad itself is not Eretz Yisrael. So there's different parts of Akkad. We're talking about the part that's not part of Eretz Yisrael. Ask the Gemara of Bavel, Litzvoy with Eretz Yisrael Kaima. Bavel is on top of Akkad. If you go to Akkad and you go straight up, you're going to hit Bavel. How do I know? Interesting. So I'm not going to get into it. I need a pasuk to know that Bavel is north of Eretz Yisrael. I mean, take a plane and you fly over there. It's north. Okay, so the pasuk creates a metzius. I have a different question. I didn't really see people talk about it. But usually, when the Gemara talks about Bavel, what does the Gemara call Bavel, Rabbi Isai? Anybody? Who said that? What? Ma'arava. It's Mizrach or Ma'arav. It's not Sofan and Durham. Okay, fine. It's possible. I have no idea. Maybe they used to travel a little bit. Ma'arav to get there. It really is north of Eretz Yisrael, but Ma'arava. Okay, fine. As the Gemara, the bottom line is that Bavel seems to be outside of our green map. Yeah? We know it's outside the green map, but it is. It's past Akkad. So therefore, it should be Chutz La'aretz. And you should have to say, B'fanei Nechtam, B'fanei Nechtam. But we learned, Remeir holds that Akoy is like Eretz Yisrael. Akoy is so close. Look, it's mamish touching Eretz Yisrael. I don't know how long, how far away it is. Hundreds of miles away. Baruch Hashem, yeah? Iraq, all the way over there. So of course it should be considered Chutz La'aretz. Says the Gemara, he asks the question, he answers the question, every place in the world besides Bavel, because Bavel has all the milos of Eretz Yisrael. They have Baki Lishma, they have Sheyar Mitzuyos. So you don't have to say B'fanei Necha. Again, we're talking about from city to city within Bavel. The Sheyar Mitzuyos, not so much from Bavel to Eretz Yisrael, as much as within Bavel, going from Surah to Narda, top to bottom, Pumpedisa, the whole thing. So the Sheyar Mitzuyos. Ateichani Bavel. Where does Bavel end? We know that Bavel has very, very strong Yichus. Over there, they were very makven and Yichus. So wherever the borders are for Yichus in Bavel, that's where the borders are for Gittin. Very interesting. The second tree by the bridge. Okay? We'd rather have a picture here. It's not ours. Yossi did this thing. I need it for later, but I'll show it to you here. Here is a little bit of a bridge, top of, past Baghdad over there, Baghdad. It's basically northern Iraq, Bavel, and somewhere next to that bridge in the picture. Okay, there's two trees over there, Shalom Yisrael, right there. Rav Chizda matzrich maketesvain lebei ardashir. So if you see in this picture over here, Aktisvain is outside of Bavel. Why? Because Bavel, the border of Bavel is the river. And Aktisvain is on the other side of the river. Aktisvain in this picture has a marketplace. If you go from Chutz La'aretz into where it's green, it says Bei Ardashir, which is in Bavel, you have to say B'fanei Nechta, B'fanei Nechta. Like this, really magic. But if you go the opposite way, you don't have to say B'fanei Nechta. Maybe the pshat is there's a chesaron in the Shema. Now we don't have a problem. The problem is not so much the Shema. Everybody agrees. The problem is more to be Mekayim the get. You're right. Everybody agrees. You have to be Mekayim. Vohani kivin the azli the shuka lahasam. Since the Bnei Ardashir go to Aktisvain, to the marketplace, the people of Aktisvain, the people that own the marketplace, they're very familiar with the signatures. Why? Because the people from Bavel, they buy stuff on credit and they sign off their names. So everybody in Aktisvain has these IOU documents that have the signatures of the people from Bnei Ardashir. But the people of the Ardashir don't know the chasimais of Aktisvain. My time, Bishukaya treaty. They're very busy with the shuk over here. This is where Taisus asks, these guys are busy with the shuk. Why is it any different than the Girsai treaty that we said before? And on that Taisus says that the people are into learning, they're much more Torah. Okay. Arsa looks something like this. Rashi says it's a row of houses. So even if you bring a get from one side of the street, from 45th Street on the right side of the street, you cross the street on Parkville Avenue, you go to the other side, you have to say B'fanei Nechta or B'fanei Nechta. Rav Sheshes Matzrich from Shchuna l'Shchuna, from 3 houses to another 3 houses, even on the same side of the street. Even within the 3 houses. So, let's keep on going for a second. Rava is the one that says that the problem is that you need to be able to authenticate the get. No, your next door neighbor gave a get, so of course you could authenticate. You know where they live. Says the Gemara, Shani b'nei Mechoiza denied. The people of Mechoiza, they're constantly moving. For the business, they're constantly moving. So look at Taisvis all the way in the bottom. Very important, Taisvis. The last line. The Hashla, Taisvis says, let me just see here. You have to say before the Hashla says, Taisvis, listen to this. The halacha is, says Taisvis, and this is how we pass in la halacha, that every person has to say before Nesanel, even from door to door. Even if you're next door to each other, house to house, you have to say befonai nechtam u befonai nechtam. Rav Chaim Mishtoi, Rav Chaim said over a story. Maisa. Rav Chaim brought a get. We don't know if the get went this way up in Bavel from Surah to Nardor, or Nardor downwards to Surah. Also came to Rav, he came to Rav. Do we have to say before You don't have to say before nefta. Returning to that Vav Amud Beis, sponsored by Greg Haber, Fatzlacha, Parnasa, Yiddish Nachas, and he's thanking me for giving the share and all of you for learning the daf. V'yavdis, says Rav Ahanis. You know what? It's not going to hurt if you do it. It's okay if you do it. What if you say, what does it mean it's going to be okay? The Osi Baal Ma'arir Lemishkechinam Bey. It's good for you to do before Nenachem. Why? Because it'll save the woman. If the husband comes later to say that the get isn't good, we have an authentication and it's a good get. There's a story, a person brought a get to Reb Shmuel. Do I have to say? Where do you live? Rabbi Mikfar Sisoyan. So listen, Rabbi said, if we stopped over here, we'd have a problem. I'm just trying to explain the Gemara in a few lines. He tells him, Rabbi Shmuel says, you have to say b'fonei nechtam. The thing is that he goes on and he explains, I'm telling you why. The reason is because I don't want Eidim later on. I don't want you to have to run and find, is the get a good get? Let's do it now. Tremendous ma'isa. Lachash yotza nichnas lefon of Rabbi Loi. Comes in Rabbi Loi. Omar Loi, Rebbe. V'aloi kfar sisoy muvlas b'tchum Eretz Yisrael. Oy, chaval, I don't have the picture. I don't think I have the picture. We had it for Kfar Ludim and Lud. Oh, I do have the picture. Sorry. There we go. Beautiful. Sorry. Here's the border. You see, the green line is the border between Eretz Yisrael and Chutz La'aretz. Now, Kfar Sisoy is muvla. Muvla means that it sticks in, it juts into Eretz Yisrael. You see that pink? That pink is supposed to be Eretz Yisrael, but it's not. There's a border around it that shows that it's Chutz La'aretz. Pink is Chutz La'aretz. So, says the Gemara, Kfar Sisoy, you're right that it's in Chutz La'aretz, but it's muvla b'tchum Eretz Yisrael. It's within the borders of Eretz Yisrael. It's very close to Tzipori, which is a Jewish community. Even Akoy, that's outside of Eretz Yisrael, has halacha like Eretz Yisrael. And even Chachamim who argue, they say that Akoy is far away from the Yishuv of Eretz Yisrael. It's far away from the cities. They would agree that this Kfar Sisoy, even though it's in Chutz La'aretz, since it's so close, it's actually inside Eretz Yisrael almost. It should be a place that you don't have to say before Nefta. Omar Loi, shtoik bini shtoik. Yeah, it's a beautiful lashon. Like, shut up, my son, I love you, shut up. Like, be quiet, but with adinos, The small merachik, the yamin mikarev. Hoyel v'yotza adobar beheter yotza. We made a kula for the woman that she should be said that she shouldn't have tsaras later on, that the husband shouldn't come be mar. So even if b'fanei nechtav wasn't said, it's kedai to say it, so that there shouldn't be an error later on. Nami Rabbi Shmuel himself never said you have to say b'fanei nechtav. Remember, Rabbi Shmuel could have stopped at b'fanei nechtav, but he didn't. He explained himself. He said, I'm telling you why it's a good idea to say b'fanei nechtav, so that there's no issues later on, so nobody comes and is ma'arer on the get. If Rabbi Shmuel would have said he must say b'fanei nechtav, okay, you have a good kasha. But that's not what happened. He explained himself. He says, be'etzem, you don't have to say b'fanei nechtav, b'fanei nechtav. I'm asking you to say it. I'm telling you it's a toiva to say it so that later on there's no issue. Says Gemara, you're right. Rabbi Eloi never heard that part. He never heard those three words. He only heard the first part. Should say b'fanei nechtav. See, that's the kasha. Why should he say b'fanei nechtav? Now I understand the explanation that there shouldn't be tzars for the woman. Now I get it. Okay. Rabbi Isa, here comes a geshmak piece of a gata. Sholach le Rav Yosef le Rav Chizda. Rabbi Yosef sent to Rav Chizda halacha. Gittin aboyim misham lekan. A get that comes from Bavel, Eretz Yisrael. Now we're changing gears a little bit. We're not talking about a city to another city within Bavel. We're talking about Bavel to Eretz Yisrael. What's the halacha? Says the Gemara, I'll tell you what the halacha is. Says Rabbi Yosef, I know the halacha. Ein tzorach loim b'fanei nechtav b'fanei nechtav. You don't have to say b'fanei nechtav b'fanei nechtav. Why? Says the Gemara, maybe the problem is l'shma. And the people in Bavel are Tamid Chachamim. We even learn Bavli, not Yerushalmi. The guys fine and learning. They know about l'shma, just as good as Eretz Yisrael. It is Berov, Rabbi Isli the Rava. We had this kasha at least twice before, today. But even Rabbi admits that Rava's problem is correct, that we have to be concerned of authentication. Elo, the Kulam bin al-Kaimo, you're right, that's a problem. Since there's many people, Rav, Kikl, Sham, constantly in the Gemara they come and go from Bavel to Israel. So it's like Shayaris Mitzuyos, and therefore Eidim is not a problem. Omer Rav Yosef, why in the world can we trust Rav Yosef? He's not reliable. Hey. Void. Iu de shalach le Rav Yehuda b'nei Adam ha'olam misham lekan him kimu ba'atzmam vayitnu hayeled bazoyno vayaldu machru b'yayim vayishtu. Unbelievable. He writes a letter to Rav Yehuda, and he writes to him, Talmidei Chachamim who come and learn Torah and they leave their wives agunois. It's a terrible thing. How do you leave your wife so long to learn Torah? How are you not Oisik and Piri Viribya? What happened to that? Taisa says a really crazy thing. He says that there was a person that sold his daughter. You hear what's going on here? He sold his daughter in order to learn Torah. Terrible thing. Sold his daughter. He had such a cheshik to learn Torah. Sold her. So Rav Yosef says, they're over on this pasuk. It's like the pasuk. Vayitnu ayeled bazoyna, vayalda machu beyayin. He sold the daughter for a little bit of wine. Torah. Vayishtu. But what's the problem? V'kosav lei below yisirtut. Let me if I can find this over here. Oh, I want to show you this thing here. So, I don't know if you heard the shir yesterday, not, yes, no, but assuming that this is the first time ever. I've never seen a get, and I worked really, really hard to get one of these, Gittin. Has 12 shuras. It even says over here, the Chamisha b'Shabbos b'Esrim Yom l'Yerech Iyar, the whole thing, the Aval, Hudson, the Miskeri, Donald, Ben Trump, Ha'omed Hayim Brooklyn. Okay, ganze Zach. In Eretz Yisrael, it's illegal to write a get. If you write a get, you have to tear it up immediately. This is chashash, you're going to give it. Well, I had to convince somebody to do it for us. I said it's for the shir. Nobody wanted to do it. Finally, he did it. This get has sirtut. So I want to show you, he made a small, very short video of how the sirtut works. It's very interesting. The way it works is he has like a device with wires on it, and he puts this piece of paper. This is not klaf. You don't write a get anymore in klaf. I didn't know if anybody knew. I didn't know, I don't think. And that's why a lot of these things are chidushim to me. He takes a piece of paper, puts it on the wires, and he pushes down hard with some sort of shmat or whatever, and the wires go through and they make lines. Here it is. This is the actual get. You can see him writing this get. Here it is. But anyways, I wanted to show you the sirtut also, because that's what the Gemara is discussing now, sirtut. Show you over here. I don't know, could the camera see this, the sirtut, Gary? I don't know. Will you guys see it? You see the lines here? Maybe this side. No, yeah? Anybody? Okay. Says the Gemara like this. He wrote the pasuk and he sent the pasuk, and he didn't do it on sirtut. He wrote a pasuk without lines. And to have the sirtut is Allah Moshe Messina. You need to have sirtut. Because of label sirtut. You can write 2 words from a pasuk without sirtut, shalosh ein kaisim. You can't write 3 words. We learned in the Brayso, shalosh kaisim, arbain kaisim. You can't write 4. What? If you don't know one halacha, you're not a tremendous Talmud Chacham. If it's something that he should have figured out himself logically, okay, I understand why he's not a Talmud Chacham. Okay, so you didn't hear one halacha. Very interesting. You heard that it's possible that Rav Yosef l'shitasa that holds in brachas that what's better, Sinai or Oiker Harim? Somebody that knows Kol HaTorah Kula, that knows everything, or somebody that's a tremendous lamdan? Rav Yosef holds that Sinai is better. So no, Sinai is better. How could we trust somebody like Rabbi Yasser who's missing one halacha? He's not a Sinai. He doesn't know all of Torah. But Abaya is a Talmud of Rabbah. He's also a Talmud of Rabbi Yosef, throughout Shas. But a Talmud of Rabbah, and Rabbah holds that Oiker Harim is better. It's better to be a lamdan than a baki. So he's a big lamdan. So he's missing a few halachas. No, not the end of the world. Zog the Gemara. Void or Rabbi Yasser who ask him Moe L Yodei. The Rebbeinu Shalom was masking to him. It reminds me like the famous lamdan. His whole life he was learning. Lamdas, Pulim Lamdas. Comes up to Shemaim, and he meets the Rebbeinu Shalom. Rebbeinu Shalom says, "No, say it Dvar Torah." He says, "I don't have anything." He says, "You don't have anything?" He says, "You know what, Rebbeinu Shalom, you tell me Dvar Torah, and I'll slug it up right away." Here, HaKadosh Baruch Hu was masking to him. He said something, said Dvar Torah. Oh, good Dvar Torah. What happened? This is the famous Maisa of Pilagish Begiva. What happened? There was a person, Navi doesn't really mention his name. He had a Pilagish, concubine. Had a Pilagish. And she did something bad with the Gemara is going to discuss. She upset him. She was very fearful for her life. She ran away from him. Navi says she was away by her father's house 4 months. Finally, he came to pick her up. Pick her up, big suuda. Stay another day, stays. Finally, he says, I'm out of here. I'm leaving. He leaves. And as he goes through, and he stays at night in a place, and people from Shem B'Yamin said, bring this guy out. They wanted to be over and aver with the man. So he decided to save himself. He sent his Pilegish out the door. And these Rishaim, they went with the Pilegish, and they killed her. He was furious. He took her, chopped her up into 12 pieces, and sent her body out to the Shvatim. And he said, look what these people in Binyamin did to me. And Klal Yisrael demanded revenge from those Rishoyim. Binyamin didn't want to give them over, so Klal Yisrael went to war and wiped them out. It all started from Pilagish Begiva. Says the Gemara, what did she do exactly? What happened that this guy was so upset that she had to run away? Says the Gemara, Vatizne olav pilakshem. Rav Yosser Omar Zvuv Motzala. He found a fly in his food. He was very upset. Yodesan Omar Nima Motzala. Found a hair. And it was dangerous, and Memela, that's what upset him. And Rav Yasser, who says this pshat, the one that we're doubting is the Talmud Chacham. He said the pshat of Zvub, and he bumps into Eliyahu Navi. Now, to me, I'm just thinking now, I didn't think about this before. The Gemara is proving that HaKadosh Baruch Hu was masking to Rav Yasser. Now, I'm saying this out loud, maybe correct me if I'm wrong. It doesn't say that Rav Yasser met Eliyahu Navi, and that makes him a choshivah person. Big deal. He met Eliyahu Navi. No. I know a lot of people that met Eliyahu, and I'm saying, like, isn't that big enough? Wow. He speaks to Eliyahu Navi, one-on-one with Eliyahu Navi. No, okay, that's not. But what's the right that he's choshev? He asks Eliyahu Navi, what's HaKadosh Baruch Hu learning right now? He's learning the sugya of Pilagish Bagiva. Ben Yehuda says here on the spot, you shouldn't think that he's like saying over the story. This tremendous soidas, very, very deep soidas in Pilagish Bagiva, and all of Navi, they come across as simple stories, but they're very deep. And what is he dealing with in Pilagish Bagiva? If Yosser b'ni kachoimer, my son, my beloved, says that he found the fly. Yodesan b'ni kachoimer. And Yodesan says like this, that it was Nima. Chas v'Shalom, and Rav Yosef asks, what HaKadosh Baruch Hu doesn't know what happened. Did he find the fly? Did he find the hair? Which one is it? He knows. He found a fly, and he wasn't makpid. Nima matzav hikpid. When he found the hair, he was makpid, like the koil guy. Yeah. Complains. He says, this month you didn't give me a check. So the Rosh Kodesh says, very nice that you're complaining that you didn't get a check. What about last month when I gave you 3 checks by mistake? That you didn't come to tell me. He says, no. That was one mistake. Now you made 2 mistakes. Now 2 mistakes I have to come to you and tell you. So over here, I'm explaining the pshat. Rav Yosef was wrong. He said a zvuv matzah. It's not zvuv. Zvuv, he said lo yikpid. It wasn't a problem. He was more makpid on the nima. So why is divrei Alaychem chayim? Why is it zev zeh divrei Alaychem chayim? It's not zev zeh. It's one pshat only. Nima matzah. The answer is no. The answer is the day started off really bad. First, she serves him soup, and there's a disgusting fly in the soup. He said, you know what? I'll hold it in. All of a sudden, half hour later, there's an ema, and now he exploded. That's it. But it started with the zvuv, but it ended with the nima. Says the Gemara, Omer Rav Yehuda zvuv bekara. The fly was in the food. V'nima ba'isei makai. Zvuv misusa. Fly is something disgusting. V'nima sakanta. But the nima we had also with, I forgot it, Taisus actually brings it, that there's somebody in the Navi that became a krushavcha from it with Basheva. So, Nima Sakanta, Ikid Amri, Idi Bekara, it could be no. Both situations happened in the bowl. In other words, there was soup had a fly, or the soup had a piece of hair in it. Zvuv unsa. Zvuv, you can't control every fly that flies in from the side. But if you're a chef and you don't wear one of those caps on your head, and a piece of hair falls in, that's your problem. Just to point out, Taisus asks a beautiful thing. It says in the pasuk, "But tizne olav pilakshem." His pilagish was mizana. How does Rav Yosser know that we're talking about a fly? Maybe she was mizana. It says in the pasuk she was mizana. Vatizna olav pilakshe. Where did Rabbi Yosef and Rabbi Yonasan get that it's talking about a hare or a fly? Says Taisus, because how would he take her back? He went to pick her up. If she was mizana, he wouldn't be able to pick her up. So it's obvious that we're talking about something else. Beautiful. A person shouldn't put extra fear in his home. He gave her a tremendous amount of fear. And that's why, and by doing so, tens of thousands of Yidden died from that fear. Person should act calmly at home. So, Gilei Arayis. So Rashi says what happens is that a person put such a fear in his wife that she's scared to tell him that she wasn't toivel. And Memela, he'll be over anida. Shvichus damim, like we see over here by Pilagish Begiva. And then Rashi says an incredible thing. Sometimes she'll run away from him and she might jump off a bridge. She falls off a bridge, jumps off a bridge, which real quickly, because I'm in Lakewood, I'll throw this in here. Reb Saul Salanter once didn't come to Shir, and it wasn't like him. You have to understand, Reb Saul Salanter was known as the biggest goyin, the biggest lamdin of his generation. We know him as a Baal Musar, and the biggest lamdin, biggest tzaddik. Oh, where is he? The Bachram come out, and they look for him, and they can't believe their eyes. They see him holding a woman's hand. So it turns out that he was on his way to yeshiva, and he saw a lady that was about to commit suicide, jump off a bridge. And he didn't want to be a chassid shaita. The Gemara says, you see somebody drowning, you have to grab them, even if it's a woman. So he went, and he spoke to her, and he held her hand, and he calmed her down, and he brought her back. That's what happened. Zog the Gemara, we're almost done here. Omer Rav Kalamata Lemi Yisrael Zechbeit Yisrael B'Dishal Shavero Chilul Shabbos. Omer Rav Mechano Hod Amri Rabbanon Shlish Dvarim Sarach Hodem Loimer B'Zechbeit Yisrael Shabbos B'Zechbeit Shabbos Imchashecha Isartem Iraftem Hadigus Haner. Did you take Meiser? Did you make an Eruv? Did you light your candle? Did you light your candle? He knows, but he says Hadliku. You should light your candle. Tzorach Lemrimu B'Nechusa. You should say it calmly and nicely. It's yisoid for everything. If you want your children to listen, you say it benachas. Just one last thing, because the Daf Yomi was instituted by Rebbe Shapiro. So he says over here on Isartem, Iraftem, and Likus Aner, he says Isartem means, did you take Meiser when it comes to Torah? As Rav Moshe Feinstein says, I'm going to stick it in, because Rav Moshe Feinstein says that when it comes to Torah, just like you have to give 10% or chomish of all your belongings, your money, you have to give 10% of your time. You hear this? Of your time to other people to teach them Torah. Every day, 10% of your time. Isartem, did you give time to teach people Torah? Iraftem, and this is very neged to us. Did you take arvos? Did you care about another yid? Did you tell another yid about MDY, about Daf Yomi, about joining any daf? Doesn't matter what, but did you encourage him to learn Torah? It's arvos. That's what he was asking about. Hadlikus haner, sin on the fire, turn on the flame of Torah, learn Torah. Rabbi Isai, have a wonderful day.